YouTube, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here, so I gotta remember to make myself look at the camera, not where I'm actually streaming from. So this is gonna be a bit of a different live stream. Also, tell me how the volume's doing. I'm not really sure if it's gonna work right. I have a little bit of a new setup that I've been using, and so I've never tried like using the webcam with it before because my new setup involves like an arm mount for my microphone and a large shock mount that it sits in, so I can't really do like a face camera, which I'm sure isn't going to upset some of you because that thing's right in my face unless I use a different setup. And so right now I'm kind of doing the different setup to see if this works. So you all let me know how the sound is. I'm going to go over to the live chat so I can check that out. So hold tight just for a second and we will get things started. So yes. Let's see who's in chat. Yeah, nice Walmart shirt. That's right. That's my work shirt. This is my engineering shirt. So, yep. Volume's fine. Good. So, as long as the volume's fine, let's kick things off because I don't want to waste a lot of time here. First of all, as many of you all know, they just revealed the vampire counts as a faction on Total War Warhammer. And it was a pretty exciting reveal. And if you all watched the live stream where they revealed them, you'll know that I actually got to travel to San Francisco to be there for the live stream. I was there with Prince of Macedon. Oakley was there too, as you all know him from YouTube. And then we also had C-Top24, I think it was. I've never met him before. I hadn't seen him, but he was there. Angry Joe was there as well. We had a lot of folks, and basically we got to be there and get to go hands-on with this the quest battle where you go for the Sword of Unholy Power with Manfred von Carstein, which is the legendary lord that they revealed there. So let's talk a little bit about my impressions, because some of you wanted to know what I think, because I got to get hands-on with it. So was it fun? How did the vampire counts play? How was the battle? So let's jump into a few things. First of all, let's have some fun. So there's some of you who think that I am paid by the Creative Assembly to say what they want me, or what they want you to hear. And you know what? All those allegations are true. They're absolutely true. They pay me in cookies. You see, I got this cookie while I was there, and that was all I needed, man. I'm going to come on here and say whatever they want because I got myself a vampire count sugar cookie. No, I'm just kidding. So, yeah, anyway, they don't pay me. No, there's no pay. They invite you to these events. You can say whatever you want. Creative Assembly is actually really good because, as many of y'all know, Angry Joe actually tore them up a couple of times, and they still invite him back. So Creative Assembly is very open to the feedback and stuff from us, and they are very good about listening to it. So no, yeah, so the cookie was not payment, and they weren't making me say anything, but it was nice. It tasted good. No blood in there, though, so that was a bit of a surprise. Yes, that cookie, that's right. It was quite the cookie. So here's another picture. Figured y'all enjoy this one. Throw that up. Got Angry Joe. I'm sitting there smiling because I'm kind of a dork, and he's got this intense, cool look going on. So yeah, I think we all know who's in charge in that picture. So Angry Joe did rate my channel 2 out of 10. Said that it sucked butt, and what the crap was going on. No, I'm just kidding. He's a nice guy. I got a chance to talk to Joe about some games that are around. Some of you may have seen a game that's upcoming called Battlefleet Gothic Armada, which is like a Warhammer 40k universe. I will actually be showing you some beta footage from that here soon. I've been working on it, but I keep getting the crap kicked out of me on it, so I'm trying to learn how to play it enough to show it to you, so that'll be coming up. Yeah, that shirt, someone says nice shirt in the chat. So that shirt, back in the day whenever I traveled to the Creative Assembly studio in the United Kingdom, they gave me that shirt one night. We went up to London, so obviously I kept that. It's a staff shirt, so I use it, I guess, to be pretend staff whenever I'm at some of the Creative Assembly events. So again, no, they don't pay me in shirts either, so don't worry about it. So yeah, the vampire counts. Let's switch over to, let's see, in-engine cinematic. Hang on, how come this isn't? Maybe it's because I don't have it pulled up over here. Let's see. Ah, there it is. Yep, this is what I want to see. So there was an in-engine cinematic trailer. I'll play that in the background, and we'll just kind of talk here for a minute about the Vampire Counts faction. Yes, I'm just playing a YouTube video in the background here, so yeah, you're going to have a little bit of stuff on it. But so yes, what did the trailer show us? Well, it's mostly for show and to get you excited. It's obviously not gameplay footage. It's in-engine footage. And I will kind of give you a little bit of a feel for what the gameplay was like. Because again, I got to play the quest battle for the Sword of Unholy Power while I was there in San Francisco, and it was fun. But the trailer the trailer was good. It gets you excited. I hadn't been particularly excited about the vampire counts because I'm not really into Warhammer. It's not because I'm not excited to see the factions in the game. I'm just not into Warhammer, so it's a little bit different for me. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Anyway, just the trailer was a good way to introduce Manfred von Carstein, which is one of the legendary lords for the vampire faction, and that Banshee you saw there a minute ago is actually one of the heroes that will be available to you as the vampire counts. So should be kind of fun. But yeah, anyway, this battle just shows you some of their units. So obviously the vampire counts are all about the undead. And as many of you have seen, they've got all kinds of units like zombies and skeletons and bats and big monsters. And Manfred himself can get on this big kind of like dragon thing. Looks kind of like a Nazgul to me, but I probably shouldn't say that because of all the copyrights on Lord of the Rings. This gave us a quick glimpse, this in-engine cinematic too, as to what siege battles could potentially look like in this game. And there'll be more information coming out on siege battles, so stay tuned for that. We'll talk about it. But yeah, obviously they're trying to make siege battles epic there and trying to show that off. So that's obviously a teaser for that. And then this, of course, just trying to get you excited about being Manfred, who is a pretty cool-looking character, by the way. So anyway, yeah, that's this in-engine cinematic was pretty sweet. A lot of the units that you're seeing in this in-engine cinematic are units in the game, and you get to use some of those in the battle for the Sword of Unholy Power. Obviously, not the Empire units that you're seeing here, because the Empire was not there in the quest battle for the Sword of Unholy Power. That was the Greenskins. But this video, obviously, showing the vampires at odds with the Empire, which makes sense, right? The vampires are kind of like the undead people from the Empire trying to take it over. So it is going to be a cool faction. They also show them doing a little combat with the dwarves here, which was pretty cool. I mean, obviously the vampires saying they're at home in the dark of the caves and stuff where the dwarves are at, which all that kind of makes sense. Let's pop back out of this and let's switch over here to Total War's Twitch channel. And I'm going to play this little bit of battle footage in the background so that you all can see that. I'm going to pop my face back up here on top. And this is battle footage where Prince of Macedon played alongside Joey from Creative Assembly. And this is the Sword of Unholy Power battle. I do have the sound muted. If you want to go see this, there'll be links in the video. If I don't already have them in the description, then I'll have them in there soon. So you can go check that out for yourself. But what did I think of the battle? The battle was a lot of fun. You can actually see, crap, I'm going to go back and pause it here just so you all can see the army composition. I'm going to talk through that a little bit, and I'm going to check out the chat for questions. So as you have questions, try and throw them in the chat, and I will try and answer it for you. Just to kind of talk through the units they have here. I know it's not the best view, but obviously you have Manfred here as your general, and then you actually get these, I want to say these were like Crypt Guard or something. These two units here were kind of like your elite infantry. And then you got 4 skeleton warriors, and I think there was 5 zombies. Skeleton warriors are kind of like your mainline infantry that we were able to use this day. There may be other units, so I can't say that they're the mainline infantry for all of the vampire counts, but they were kind of like your mainline infantry. And then you had the zombies, who were kind of like your expendable infantry in this particular battle. You had 3 cavalry units, and I don't remember exactly what they were called, but there were some guys on some cool looking like undead type horses. And then you had these 3 units down here, which were dire wolves, and these were kind of like a skinned lion of sorts. They looked pretty scary, and they were very quick, but they were kind of light. They were like a light cavalry unit, and then of course you had these bats. And the bats were a flying unit, which were meant to be very quick, but they are very flimsy, and so how you use them played a big role. So I don't remember, I didn't get to actually see Prince of Macedon play this one, so I don't remember exactly how he takes it. And of course you're up against the Greenskins, and the Greenskins got this big hill position. So just to kind of give you a feel for how the vampire counts play, they do not have any ranged units, and so they are pretty much a rush faction. Everything you do is rushy. But the interesting thing is that the zombies and skeletons are not particularly fast units, just in terms of their battlefield speed. So it gave you the opportunity to kind of create these interesting dynamics between what cavalry you had and the bats, and then also Manfred's magical powers. You had to try and use all that in order to get your guys the time they need. And of course the zombies, I use them as my main meat shield in this battle to assault the hill, and then I use my skeleton warriors and the Crypt Guard to follow up with a more substantive attack. And then of course I was working the flanks with my cavalry and the dire wolves and the bats. So a lot of folks had trouble with this battle while we were there. Like I noticed a lot of people were losing. And I think that what's funny is that Prince of Macedon actually won this battle like 3 or 4 times when he played it, and then I think he loses it on the live stream. So yeah, the battle can give you a hard time if you took it in the wrong fashion. But just to kind of show you all how the tactics work here. So as I was thinking through the tactics, I figured out that the zombies were my lightest unit and the most expendable. So I put them up front, obviously. That's the nice thing about the vampire counts, is that they're like a meat shield. Most of their army's meat shield, which is something I'm very familiar with. So their tactics and strategies kind of went right up my alley. It is weird not having ranged units, but that was just how it works. So immediately when the battle started, the goblins were attacking you with these wolf riders. And this was an opportunity for you to basically get a good start. And so what I would do is just absorb the charge of these wolf riders with my zombies. Now the zombies are the units you're seeing that are most spread out. And then his infantry that's tighter together is going to be the skeleton warriors or the crypt guard. So I would basically keep my cavalry back, let the zombies absorb the wolf rider charge, and then I would quickly outflank the wolf riders with my dire wolves and cavalry, and you could easily rout them. And the same thing with just basically any unit that the goblins threw at you early here. They did come out with one of their like necromancers or something, and you could basically single him out and kill him early in the battle too. So if you move too far forward at first, you're going to be under the fire of the Doom Diver catapults from the greenskins. So really, I like to stay put here and just kind of mob the goblin wolf riders, and that was basically the way that you could get the battle started right. So let me take some time here and answer a few questions. So any questions coming through the chat right now? Let's see if I've got anything. People are mostly just saying hello and stuff. Let's see. Sex tips with air working the flanks. No, that was not any type of sexual tip there. Let's see. Did I win the battle the first time I fought it? So that's a good question from the Norwegian Dragon. Yes, I did win the battle the first time I fought it. I actually never lost this battle I was there. I think I played it 4 times in total. Again, if you just stop when you go to these events and you play these battles, it's easy to just take these units and start throwing them into combat because you don't know what they are and the game is new and a little bit overwhelming. But the mechanics of Warhammer are different than one of the historical Total Wars, but they're not that different. Units still have a purpose on the battlefield. Like it was the ability to quickly understand that the zombies were your throwaway units, the skeletons were your mainline units, the cavalry had to be used for good support, and it was your speed in the army because everything you else had was slow. While Manfred von Carstein is like, obviously he's your general. You use him to support key areas of the battlefield and key engagements. So I did win the battle. So what's my opinion on the DLC? I'll go ahead and get this out of the way, even though it's not something I really wanted to talk about today. So Mr. Nicky James asked me that. So the DLC, I mean, obviously no one likes the Day 1 DLC. I mean, not many people that I know at least. I don't mind them throwing DLC into the game because that's just the way games are these days. I'm not saying that I particularly enjoy it, but I mean, we live in an age of high-speed internet, so DLC is inevitable. It allows game companies to make more money off the game after release, and in some ways that can be good for us if it's done properly. Because what that means, if they continue to make money, support for the game can continue, and you can continue to get content for a great game. Now, I think what most of us are upset by is that it seems like the DLC takes the primary focus, while the game takes secondary focus, and we end up with a game that isn't complete, that's chock full of DLC. So I think that's what most people's worries are. The good news for all of us, and again, I don't know because the game hasn't released. I've played the game twice now in person. It played very well both times I played it. Now, of course, it's a focused scenario battle that I'm playing in, so there's a lot of things that could be different. I didn't get a lot of glitching. The units responded well. The game looked good. It played smooth. The units seemed like the balance was pretty good. And then the Creative Assembly announced that they were delaying the launch. So in order of what I think of the Chaos Warriors, not a big fan of it, having the Day 1 DLC, but they did delay the launch of the game to put in a 64-bit engine and DX12 support. And I totally support CA for doing that. So while I'm not saying that I love the idea of the Day 1 Chaos Warriors, if they stop and polish this game and make it great, I will, lay off of that on them. Not saying I completely forgive it, but I will back off a little if they take their time and make sure that this game is done right. Let's look for more questions here. So favorite factions. I can't really talk through favorite factions yet. So just from what I've played, I had a great time with multiple factions. but I can't go into too much detail because there's more to be revealed, and I will get to that as far as who my favorite faction is. Blademaster, you're saying you're skeptical about balance. Well, let's talk about balance. Obviously, I haven't gotten to play it in a multiplayer scenario, but how was the balance in this battle? Well, the greenskin units had the hill position, and they had the Doom Diver catapults, which you can see hammering Prince of Macedon's forces there. As far as the balance goes, like the cavalry, for instance, there's light and there's heavy, and then there's units that have a ton of health. And if you look at the health bar on the unit card over there, I asked the Creative Assembly about how this works. That unit health over there shows the entire unit's health, but it is still divvied up across each individual in the unit. So what you have to watch out for are the hero type units. So the units that have maybe a few units or just one unit and a ton of health, those are the ones that can do some severe wreckage. But in terms of how the balance works, there's certain units that are good versus hero type units or big monsters and other stuff like that. So is there a balancing issue? Well, if you just had an army of like skeleton warriors and the greenskins sent the Arachnarok after me or something, yeah, they're going to wreck you. There is no sense of balance there. And the Creative Assembly mentioned that some units are supposed to be wickedly strong. But there is a way to counter that type of stuff. So like, for instance, when I played as the dwarves, they had flamethrower units, and the flamethrower units were very good versus like spiders and stuff like that. And then you also had like these axe slayers or like these slayers or whatever for the dwarves who were meant to counter like the big beastly units, and they had more health and they were good at it. So there are counters to certain units in the game. So, and then the magic is another thing that worries people. So I got to use magic in a couple of different battles. Obviously, and so just to let you all know, the magic balances in pretty well, honestly. It's kind of like a general's ability in some way, and some spells can devastate an enemy unit, but they also have the potential to backfire on your own men, and some spells are just more like boosting the morale and the attack stats of your men. So those are good questions. Do they have jets and battleships? No, there's no jets and battleships, Samuel Long. So let's see what else we got here in the questions. Is the AI smarter? So this is a good question from Jeremiah Powell. Is the AI smarter in battle? And if so, is there some need for strategy? I don't know that the AI has gotten smarter, but in these quest battles, I can tell you what I know, and I can't tell you anything else yet except for about this quest battle. So in this particular quest battle, what happens is the AI is slightly scripted. It's not entirely scripted. It reacts to how you deploy your troops. So how you deploy your troops and how you move dictates how the AI acts here. Does it require some type of grand strategy? It's not going to be the same as if I'm playing like Blademaster or Maximus or one of the other good Total War competitive players. No, I'm not going to be working at that level of strategy, but absolutely in the sense that if you're just a player and this is your first time through Total War, yeah, it's going to require some strategy. Like in this battle, so far, like I can tell you some of the things I disagree with on strategy. Like a lot of people in this battle were throwing their bats and their direwolves away early when those needed to be late game units for chasing down goblin archers and their other fast units, because again, you have to understand that the vampire count units, like their infantry, is rather slow. So you have to be very careful with your cavalry. So yes, there was strategy in the sense that the greenskins had the hill, they had the Doom Diver catapults, and basically the way that I approached the hills is I put like a big line of zombies. They're spread out a lot, and you can use them as an effective meat shield. And you approach the hill. Once the Doom Divers start firing, you swoop your bats in just to keep the Doom Divers busy for a moment, because they can cause a lot of damage to your elite infantry. And so you just keep the Doom Diver catapults busy with your bats. I would then have my cavalry and my direwolves swinging around to the flanks, and that got the enemy confused. They started to reform a little bit to try and keep me off the flanks, and that allowed my skeletons and my crypt guard to advance in the center. I engaged with the skeleton and the crypt guard, and then delivered decisive rear attacks with the direwolves and the cavalry, and basically you could wrap up the greenskins pretty quick. So there's certainly strategy that's required. I would say that in what I've played so far, the AI is probably, and again, this is just the battles I've played. I have not played like a beta version of the game or a full version of the game. Just in the battles I've played, the AI does pretty well. They're not spectacular. You can still game them a little bit, but they do pretty well. I do not see like some kind of broken AI in what I'm playing. Air not really answering the question. I just answered the question about the AI. I can't tell you anything else about the AI because I didn't program it. I don't know it. I'm only telling you what I reacted to in the game, and the AI did well in what I reacted to. But how can I compare it accurately to the Rome 2 or the Attila AI when I haven't played the full game? I can only tell you what happened in one of these battles, and I don't know how scripted the AI is in these battles or how scripted it is not. That's not something I've been given. So let's see. How about unit collision? Unit collision is good. It's obviously this runs in the same graphics engine that Attila and Rome 2 did. I don't see that the blobbing is as bad as it was in Rome 2 or Attila. Also, there's guard mode, and the guard mode makes a lot of things nicer in terms of if you're trying to defend the line, your guys will hold their formations better. And in general, I find that the unit collision is much better than it was in Attila or Rome 2. And I did look at that close up several times just to make sure, because it was something I was concerned about. Blademaster's asking what's the most important unit stat. It's kind of hard to tell so far, Blademaster, but obviously the health of a unit plays a big deal. Some units in this game have huge health compared to some that don't. So understanding the health of units will probably give you a good idea of knowing where and when to engage them. Obviously, units with like spears and stuff are still meant to try and counter larger units, and so that kind of stuff is still in play. So you need to understand what the unit is good at countering, and I would say that paying attention to the unit health is a big deal, because you can think that maybe you're engaging just like kind of any old unit, and that unit may have a lot of crazy stats because it's some type of hero. So being aware of the different unit stats, and again, I would say health is probably huge. Because units with huge health can live for a long time in combat, obviously. Another good question by Blademaster. How is the speed of battle in general? I find that the battles are not as quick as Attila in terms of just how quick the melee takes place. It's probably more akin to like Rome 2 Emperor Edition, and that's, again, just from what I've played. So yeah, the speed of battle is a little bit slower than Attila, which I think a lot of folks would like. Is the game on max settings? It's a good question from Sextus. I do not know what graphics settings they had it on. I tried to look, but the options were grayed out. So I'm not familiar with what graphics settings this was on. So sorry, I can't tell you that. But I mean, yeah, I have no idea what settings they were running on. It ran smooth. I didn't get any frame lag or anything else like that. The computer they had it running on didn't seem like it was any nicer than mine that I have at home. So again, that's just a guess though. I mean, it was a nice computer. So let's see, the unit sizes. Again, I couldn't see the settings, so I don't know what the unit sizes are set on here. I don't know if it's ultra or if it's just like large. So sorry, I can't answer that. So someone asked a good question here. How do those hero types die? It's a good question. So the units with a ton of health, how do they die? You have to kind of focus on them with the right units, because again, like in this case, the Grave Guard were going to be your unit, and so was von Carstein, and the Grave Guard were the units that you wanted to use against like the Necromancers, because they had a lot more health and staying power, and they caused a lot more damage. So it was important that you use those units against the greenskin heroes, because they can actually cause the damage. Now, if you just threw like wave after wave of zombies, like the cheap units at the enemy hero units, they will kill a ton of your units. Another interesting thing about the vampire counts is their morale system is different. The undead don't know fear, but that doesn't mean that they just, fight to the death with no penalty. What happens with them is they don't rout. They fight to the death, but they have a system that basically makes it to where, and this is what I noticed while playing, they do fight to the death, but their stats start to drop when they get outflanked and outmaneuvered. So it kind of makes it cool in the sense that, yes, you don't expect to see undead troops fleeing off the battlefield because they don't get scared, but at the same time, it doesn't make them ridiculously OP because their guys fight to the death with great stats. So now a couple other things I want to talk about real quick. So von Carstein, one of the spells that he had in this battle, and I don't know if they used it here, was Raise the Dead. So von Carstein on the battlefield can actually raise a unit of zombies. And you could use this multiple ways, and there was interesting ways to use it. So in terms of strategy, if you had a unit charging at von Carstein and you wanted to keep him safe, you could actually raise the unit of zombies between the enemy unit and von Carstein and block their charge. Which was pretty cool. You could also use it to raise an enemy unit of zombies behind enemy lines to do a rear charge. Now again, zombies are a cheap throwaway unit, but yes, the morale factor can be big. You could also use the Raise the Dead just to, kind of try and help pull up an extra unit where you need it. Now, if you already had 20 units on the battlefield in a 20-unit battle, you cannot raise zombies endlessly. There has to be a unit card available. So you can't just raise zombies endlessly to get a bigger army. But von Carstein also had like spells that would help keep the units alive longer and stuff like that. It's a great way to maximize the potential of your meat shield while you moved in with your other units. So let's look for some more questions here. Let's see. Siege pathfinding. Sorry, I can't answer that one either because I haven't played any Siege. So I can't give you an idea how the siege pathfinding is. I think that we're going to hear more about siege battles soon, so just keep your eye out. CA's kind of been hinting around at it. The Norwegian Dragon. Do I know something about Warhammer that you don't? I wouldn't be able to say whether or not I do. So anything that's supposed to be revealed gets revealed when it's supposed to be revealed. So how about that? Did they tell you about stamina for the undead? No, they didn't tell me about it, but that's a great question. I watched for it in the battle, and sorry that I'm still using the software to get rid of the background. I do have a green screen, but I haven't got a chance to set it up. I'll get it set up for the next time I do something like this. So the stamina for the undead, they did have stamina, which I thought was kind of weird. Though it didn't seem like my guys got tired really quick. But yes, there was stamina for the undead units, and again, I found that kind of odd. Part of me almost feels like if the undead are going to be a rush faction, I'm not saying that they should have unlimited stamina, because it might make them OP, but I almost feel like that, and it may be the case already, their stamina should be higher than other units, is what I would think. And that would be one of the advantages they need to be a successful rush faction. Lusky876 is asking about difficulty levels. There was 2 difficulty levels that you could play the battle on. There was like normal and hard, and there was a noticeable difference between the two in terms of completing. I played it on hard every time I did it, and it was certainly beatable. But yeah, there was 2 different difficulty levels. Are there matched kill animations like in Medieval 2? That's a good question. I didn't get as close to the animations as I should have. I know there's animations, and I know that there's a couple of differences. So we had games like Rome 2 and Attila for a long time where there was like forced animations for every single fight, where the units had to like face each other in order to fight, and they had to go through an animation. That's not the case in Warhammer. You'll see a little bit more where the units are just wailing on each other sometimes, kind of like they did in Rome 1 and Medieval 2, but then obviously sometimes there are like one-on-one animations. It's kind of a mix. So yeah. How good are the range units versus the undead? I mean, the range units work well against some of the undead units that don't have a lot of armor, like the zombies or the skeletons. And again, that's why you have to effectively use that zombie meat shield and use von Carstein's abilities and the bats and other stuff to help disrupt the range units. Because yes, they can kill a lot of your zombies and other units fairly quick. A unit like the Grave Guard, for instance, they are going to have a little more staying power. But there are some good missile units in the game, and you have to be aware of them. So someone asked, do the units fight 1v1, only fight 1v1? No, they do not only fight 1v1, which is something I think was a good decision. Where's the cav? There was cavalry in the battle. I don't know if you saw Prince of Macedon use it or not, but there was 3 cavalry units, and then there was 3 units of dire wolves, which were kind of like a creature, but they could be used as light cavalry, and then honestly the bats were kind of like a light cavalry as well. So for the undead, you do have cavalry units, like heavy, more stable ones. I don't know if you saw them there or not, so I'm going to go ahead and stop this. And let's pop back over into the stream. I do have, I did an interview with the Creative Assembly during this. I don't know if I really want to show that, though. I mean, it's just 9 minutes of me talking to Nick from CA, so I don't know that that's of any particular interest to you all. So if you want to see that, I can record that interview and put it up. It wasn't much, though. It's mostly a lot of the stuff I'm saying here, except I'm probably giving you more information here. Let's see. What factions do I want to play when it comes out? I want to play all of them. Honestly, I have an interest in all the factions right now. I don't know which one's my favorite at the moment. And as more information about the game comes out, I should be able to help tell you all more about it and show you that. So here's a good question. Is OP OP? Yes, OP is OP. Let's see what else we got here. Any other questions that I can answer for you all while I'm live? I'm about to get off here. I need to get going. Let's see. You're asking the questions about the factions again. Can your general mount and dismount in battle? That's a good question. I don't know, because von Carstein wasn't mounted in this battle. He can get a mount, like that dragon thing you see there in the picture in the background. He can get a mount through his quest battles. That's a good question. I do not know. Don't know how that works. Not yet, at least. Did you learn more about the lore? No, I'm not studying the lore for Warhammer. I actually enjoy the game a crapload without even knowing anything about the lore. I have a ton of fun with this game whenever I've gotten to play it, the 2 times I've gotten to play it. As a faction, let's see what else we got. Is the cavalry OP? No, it's nothing like Attila where you just charge a unit and they all die. Now, bear in mind that there are cavalry units in the game that are like you have like demigriff knights for the Empire. Those are going to be strong cavalry because they're kind of like hero units, but they don't just like get 400 kills on the charge or something like they would if they were in Total War Attila. It's different. So you're not going to see cavalry just charging straight through the battle lines, at least not from what I've played so far. Do I like kimchi? I have no idea where that question comes from. No, fermented spicy cabbage is not really up my alley, but if you like it, more power to you. Let's see. Agents. Do agents take up unit slots of the 20? That's a good question. So if you have a hero unit, so again, remember in Total War Warhammer that the agents are heroes, and they can join your army in battle, and yes, they will take up one of the slots, but they are also typically a very powerful unit to have and well worth putting in your army. So that's a good question. Someone's asking me, would I recommend this? So the full game isn't out yet, and they also said whenever they delayed it that they're going to give people like myself time to review the game. Right now, what I've played, of the couple of battles that I've played and what I've gotten to see, I would absolutely recommend it. It is very fun. As a Total War player, I find myself having an extreme amount of fun in this game. I have not seen the whole game. I have not gotten to play a review copy yet. I will play it, I will review it, and I will tell you all my thoughts once I've seen it, but just as of now, yes, I would recommend it. Could that opinion change? Absolutely, based on what happens in the future, so stay tuned. Do tactics from the older games still apply considering you have new unit types? It's a great question. Yes. Some of the tactics from the older games still apply. Rear charges, outflanking with cavalry, terrain advantages, forest cover, stuff like that still applies. So those type of tactics are going to be natural for someone who has played Total War but who doesn't know anything about Warhammer. As soon as you learn a little bit more about the units like I did when I went to play the battle, it becomes pretty clear on how to use your old Total War tactics to be successful, even though these units are different. Let's see. What are you looking for? What am I looking for in Warhammer and what's going to be the best? I'm looking for the game to come out fully polished. Like Shogun 2, it wasn't perfect when it came out. It had some glitches and some unit problems and stuff like that. I would be okay if that's all we were facing. When Shogun 2 came out, it was polished. It looked good. It had cinematics and all the other stuff. That is what I would want. A game that is fun, it's complete, it has new features, and it's enjoyable. If we get a repeat of the launch of Rome 2 or something, it's going to be extremely disappointing. Do you know when you'll receive the review copy? No, I do not yet. But the Creative Assembly, ever since the launch of Rome 2, has been kind enough to give me reviews of basically everything they make, whether it's a DLC, a new game, or whatever it is. They've been very good since the obvious negative feedback on Rome 2 at letting us review stuff. And I will get the review copy, and as soon as I'm able to show you stuff from that, I will. Let's see. What do I think about the flying units? That's another good question. I'll take that one real quick. So the flying units are good. None of the ones I've played with are particularly OP. I mean, if you had a flying monster or something, like the single unit monsters, they're going to be strong. And the flying units, the interesting thing about them is you can fly around an enemy flank, or you can fly straight over an enemy army and then come down and attack people in the rear. So they're going to be great for rear attacks. Just be aware, though, that flying units are susceptible to ranged units. They can get shot. And in a unit like the bats, you would think, oh, I can just quickly get a rear charge with the bats because I can fly right over the top of the enemy army and come down behind them. Yes, you can, but if there's archers or gun units or anything else, they're going to tear the crap out of your bats. If you have a more heavily armored flying unit, you can use it for something like that. But the flying unit, in my opinion, was kind of a great support and a quick way to get around the battlefield. I found them most useful for cleaning up, like catapults and skirmisher units. But again, they can inflict a rear charge penalty, and that's pretty important. So, someone keeps asking if the vampires have life steal. I don't know what that is. They had spells that would reduce the health of enemy units and stuff like that, but I don't know exactly what life steal is. So anyway, I probably need to get going. Hopefully I've answered quite a few of your questions. If you have other questions and you're watching this afterwards, put them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer your questions. Do the vampires suffer attrition? I saw that one go across the screen real quick. That's a great question. I believe the Creative Assembly... You know what, I better be quiet because I don't know what I can or can't say at this point. There's obviously like units they've showed on the campaign map and other videos. They've showed how the vampires have like an area of effect. They create like vampiric influence that makes the land dark and kills all the plants and all that other stuff. So we can make a pretty safe assumption that if you are the Empire and you move into that vampiric area, you would suffer attrition, kind of like from weather on the existing Total Wars, and vice versa. So that would be the safe assumption to make based on what we've seen. So that would mean the vampires need to kind of spread their influence as they spread on the campaign map. But again, that's not official. That is me just speculating based on what that is there. So anyway, I got to run. Hope you all enjoyed the live stream. Appreciate you joining it. Glad I got to answer a bunch of questions for you. We had some great questions. Again, if you have more questions, put them in the comments after the video releases, and I will try and answer more for you. That's all I have for now. HeirofCarthage signing out, and thank you for joining.